Powerful Impact. I'm your host, Shay Wheat, founder of Grace and Ease Productions, where we support entrepreneurs just like you with event-based marketing and sales strategies, which allows you to build your authority, your credibility, and your visibility in your industry. Now, I know a lot of us are in a leadership position, and being in a leadership position more often than not means you're juggling 5,482 different things all at the same time, whether it's team, whether it's projects, whether it's client, there's so many different things. And with that, there's always the question of time. And how do I make time for life and for business? Well, my guest today is Eva, who specializes in helping busy entrepreneurs create successful businesses while still doing their day job or running their business. She really shows you how to generate the energy needed to reverse the burnout, which is super important, and the overwhelm, which is I hear a lot from entrepreneurs, so that you can experience what it feels like to essentially have it all. Please welcome Eva to the Creating Powerful Impact stage. How are you, my dear?
Hi, Shay. I am doing wonderful, and I am so thrilled to have this conversation with you. I've been super excited.
Well, and it's not very often that I end up having a guest of mine that is probably 20 minutes up the road.
I know. We found that out quite by accident, didn't we?
I love it though. So not only are we in the same time zone, but we're literally in the same state and then practically the same city, which is great. And why I love having a platform like this that makes it so we can have people from all over the world. But I want to dive into a little bit about, we were talking right before we got started here about having a high performance life. What in the world does that actually mean? What does it look like? How do you get started? Like, please tell us.
That is the perfect question, because high performing often gets confused with high achieving. And there is a distinction. High achieving, you automatically feel exhausted, right? The workaholism, the top level executive who's always on the go. And we probably see that in some role models we have in our lives as well. But the difference with high performance, it really is being on your A game, not only in your job, your career, your position, but at home, in your energy, in your community, at work, every area of your life. It really is having the habits, practices, and principles that have you succeed consistently over the long term, not just, here and then up and down, even though
you don't want to do the roller coaster. Is that what you're saying?
That is the road to success, but it's really who you are being as you are building. Mm-hmm. And so you want to maintain your health. You want to maintain your well-being. You want to have happy, positive relationships. And often when we are high-achieving workaholics, something suffers that's important to us. Mm-hmm. We don't, like you mentioned a little bit before, maybe we don't have enough time to spend with the people that are important to us. Maybe we're not taking the time we need to eat well. Maybe we're eating at our desk. Maybe we're constantly on. Maybe we're not in a good mood because we're so exhausted all the time. And so, yes, you can be a high achiever without being a high performer, and you can be both.
Fascinating distinction.
I see.
I've never thought about it before. Like I'm taking a pause on it because I think I probably lumped them together, thinking they were kind of one and the same. So how does somebody start? Like, what do you need to be looking at? Like, do you have to take inventory of what's going on in your world and going, okay, well, I'm definitely not looking at that. My head's in the sand over here because I'm so focused on this piece. This is falling into the wayside. Like, do you have to take an inventory first, or?
Well, I think you have to really get clear I think clarity is the first step. I have this kind of CPR formula, if you will, that will jumpstart your high performance. So we're going to perform a little CPR in your life right now. The
Okay.
C stands for clarity. You've got to be clear what's important to you, who you are, what's important to you, what makes you happy. You've got to take a good, hard look at where you are unhappy in your life and business and what you can do about that. You've got to be clear about who you are, your values, and being in integrity to that, because if you're clear about what's important to you and you're not living in alignment to that, you're going to feel the exhaustion, overwhelm, and disappointment. You know, a lot of us will say that we're working this hard for our families, for our kids, for for our future, right? This is why I'm working this hard, honey. And yet we're spending very little time with the people that we claim we're working that hard for. And so get clear on what's important to you. For me, it's always been my health. My health is really important to me. I don't want to fall into the rabbit hole of putting my health, my relationships, my happiness on the back burner just to be successful. And I have a thing with shiny object syndrome. I don't know about you, but everything sounds like a good idea and I want to try it and I want to try it now. And that's where you kind of get into the exhaustion and overwhelm.
Yeah. So if we went back to the clarity for a second, it reminds me of a story listening to somebody in my mastermind who's, so much further than I am, has a number of businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses, Inc. 500, like all kinds of things, right? And he was telling the story about, he's like, oh, I'm so busy and I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for the family. And his wife turning around and going, okay, that was in the beginning, but you can't keep laying on that sword anymore. And he was like, oh, got it.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Well, what happened to me was, my career started out in dental hygiene. And on my 50th birthday, which was, 13 years ago now, on my 50th birthday, I was downsized. I had a good job in San Francisco as a hygienist, a couple of kids in college, the whole bit. I was newly married. And my boss called me into her office probably a day or two before my birthday. I was planning my trip to Cabo. And she told me I was being downsized to part-time and my salary reduced. And it certainly was a kick in the gut after she told me a week before I had job security, and she went back on her word. But it also opened up my eyes. Sometimes we need a life-changing event, right, to change our lives. That could be with our health, our relationships, our finances. And for me, it was finances, and I realized I needed to be an entrepreneur. So I invested in coaching and training and education to build a real estate investment company. And I built a really successful company while still working as a hygienist. But I also was doing all the cooking, all the shopping, all the laundry, working the business in every spare moment, going to work. I was the main breadwinner in the home. And before long, my health was affected, my well-being was affected, and my husband and I became short, snippy, impatient with one another. And but I thought, like most busy people, as soon as disease, soon as the business gets to a certain level, as soon as we make a certain amount of money, then we'll have time to work on our relationship. Well, that as soon as came for me when I discovered betrayal in my marriage. And another kick in the gut. But what that one did for me was have me look at who I was being as I was building. I wasn't showing up in excellence in the important areas of my life. I'm building this business for us and for our future and for our family, but I was a biatch, don't want to say the word, because I was so tired and exhausted all the time. And then my body started hurting and I was having migraines and everything, kind of took it out on other people, wasn't showing up in excellent energy, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And my marriage took a hit and we were in danger of divorcing. And then I discovered high performance. And it was a both and, not an either or for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to really do the CPR that I created, be clear on what's important to me, and then establish my priorities. And most people react to other people's false priorities and drama before focusing on their own. So I got to be clear on what my priorities are. And, you know, as Roy Disney famously said, when your priorities are clear, decision-making becomes easy. So if I was presented with an opportunity, I had to ask myself, is this going to bring me closer to my priorities for today? Or is it going to be a distraction? Is it going to pull me further away? And I had to learn how to let some things go that wasn't focused on my priorities. I had to learn to give up control. Not easy for a control freak, but really focus on what mattered most to me and make time for what mattered most to me. And then, you know, the final thing was the responsibility for creating and setting boundaries. That's the R in the CPR, because we make poor choices by saying yes to everything to please everyone else. And that's how we become overcommitted. And overcommitment leads to overwhelm. Overwhelm is the enemy of excellence. And I want to be in excellence at home, at work, in my business, in my community. And so I really had to break it down and let some things go instead of adding more things onto my plate that weren't supporting what I was clear was important to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you said it was clarity, priorities. What was R?
Responsibility for creating and setting and communicating. Communicating boundaries, because they may be clear to us, but not to the people around us, you know.
You mean they don't understand what's going on in our head?
No, they're not mind readers. You know, I remember, you know, when I'm doing interviews like this or having private client sessions, my office door would be closed. Now, because I had to share and give up more responsibility in the real estate business to focus on my coaching, my husband was taking it over. But all of the files for our properties were in here, and he would see the door close and knock and come in. Come in, and I'd be like, ah, you know,
right.
Make that face like, no, don't you know? And I'm like, and I said, Eva, he thinks he's doing well by knocking. You have to tell him what a closed door means to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It means recording in progress, you know, confidentiality in progress, don't come in. And so when I said it to him, I said, look, when the door is closed, I'm either recording something, doing a video, or in a client conversation that is private. So please don't knock and come in. He was like, oh, okay. I mean, he was like totally fine with it, but I spent so much time like, is he stupid? Doesn't he know what a closed door means? Like, no, he didn't.
No.
knock, came in. Now I can just train the dog.
Let me know when you do, because I've got two of them. Yeah. Anyway.
I'll get scratch. Let me in, mommy. Let me in.
Right? Like, I have to play right now.
Right now. What do you do?
I don't think you do, but okay. I love that. Okay. And then you also said something is overwhelm is the death of.
It's the enemy of excellence.
Enemy of excellence. Overwhelm is the enemy of excellence. Would you dive into that a little bit more for us?
Well, when we overcommit, we become overwhelmed. And that has us not show up in excellence. My life is a perfect example of that. I was committed to my job. I was committed to building a business. I was committed to serving clients. I was committed to being in charge of what's going on in my kitchen. You know, send the husband grocery shopping, always came back with the wrong thing, even with pictures. I had to let go of that and be okay. You know, I'm not going to die if he bought the wrong brand of butter. You know, like, seriously.
Can I just tell you real quick? I went to the store and I bought cabbage versus a head of lettuce. And I was like, well, what can we... Babe, we got cabbage, and then
cabbage recipe.
he made something amazing with the cabbage. I was like, this is so good. But like I went, yeah, just sometimes you just grab the wrong thing.
And I realized that the things I was making a big deal over weren't important. And so, but what I mean about overwhelm and overcommitment being the enemy of excellence is, how many times do we wake up and immediately check our emails or our text and start responding to other people's priorities? And so one of the things that I want to share with the audience is creation before consumption. So what does that mean? For you to show up in excellence, you've got to be in creation to the priorities that you set for the day. The 3 big things that move the needle forward on whatever you're creating, you're building, you need to do for your life and business. Those 3 things get to be done first, the first hour of your day, before you check in on other people's. Shay, I need this from you. And did you send this to this? And and then we get, I used to feel my heart start to race. I was like, oh, everything I have to do. And I realized the world is not going to fall apart if I take an hour to do my priorities first, and then I don't have that hanging around. And so I can show up in excellence. It's still early in the day. I've done my workout. I've had my protein shake. I'm feeling good. I'm diving in and I'm taking care of my important stuff. I'm being completely selfish, and you have to be. And it's okay. And that's, my day doesn't start till 10. So from 9 to 10, I'm working on my needle moving activities, what's important for me. And it may just be, let's pay these bills before you jump into email. It could be anything like that, or something I want to really do and not get to the end of the day and be exhausted and try to do it. Yeah. So when you learn to say no to things that don't move the needle forward on your business for that day, you're going to show up in more excellence because you're not going to be overcommitted and overwhelmed. It doesn't mean that you're not being the helpful, wonderful person that you are. It means you're doing it at a time that's convenient for you and not for someone else. And so when you get those requests, can you, could you, should you, would you do this for me? It's either, yes, I can, but not until 3:00. Or I'm sorry, it's just, I have a lot of things on my plate today. It's not a priority for me. Who else can help you? Or will another day this week work for you because I can do it Friday at 10, or something like that. You're not being like, no, but you're just really like, I have things on my plate that I need to get done. And unless, I tell my kids, unless you're bleeding, somebody needs to go to the hospital, it can wait.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that time blocking, putting that in your calendar for the first hour of your day to handle whatever you have to handle. So you are putting the mask on you, and you put in the mask on your business, and you're putting the mask on whatever you need for your health or your family or what have you, is really super important, because I fall into it. I still fall into it to this day. Especially right now, I'm in event season, and I've got, 4 events happening all at the same time, and people wanting my attention on stuff, right? But it's like, oh, you know what? I have to do X, Y, and Z, so that way I can actually show up and support you even at a higher level, at that high performance.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you look at creation before consumption, send out emails that you need to send to get the needle moving forward on, your events and with your clients before being in response mode. And I usually start things in Gmail that I need to respond to. If I'm doing an overview, like, okay, I'll get to that. Because sometimes I won't remember. I also keep a little notebook next to my computer, and I just write down things that I need to get back to today that are important maybe to other people, but not a priority to me, just because I don't trust my memory. And so I've got little hacks built in, like, oh, right, so-and-so text, because once you read a text, it's red, right. It's not showing up red, like, okay, they need this. And I'll just write little things down. And then I save the last hour before I close up into making sure I've checked all of those things off.
I love it.
and we're good. And sometimes they get put off to the next morning, but then I'll schedule it. Let me see where I have time in my calendar to get back to Shay, to get back to Sally, to get back to who I need to get to. That's where I'll do it from 10 to 11 tomorrow, because I don't have anything scheduled.
Mhm.
So I'm really strategic about protecting my time and energy and making sure I'm not taking on other people's emergencies, because it's an emergency for them, not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you've ever had children, the drama that they bring into life, that everything's emergency, mom, you have to do it now. And it's not. So I kind of go in it with that brain.
I love it. I love it. I mean, you've dropped so many diamonds for us here today. If somebody was like, Ava, I need you to support me with, like, I'm in it right now. I just need a little bit of CPR. I need a little support. What's the best way for somebody to reach out to you? And do you happen to have a gift for our audience today?
Yes. I mean, it's very simple to reach out with me. Just go to talkwitheva.com and we'll have a conversation about what you need. And if I'm someone who can help you get the needle moving so that you can be in excellence in every area of your life, we can talk about what that looks like. And as far as a free gift, I'm going to give you something to get you started right away. And it's called Win Every Day. I want to set you up to win each day and not feel that the day has won you, but that you have command and control of your day. And so if you go to evamedilek.com/success habits, it's a PDF, 3 things that you can implement immediately to get control of your day and focus on your priorities.
Beautiful. I love it. We'll have the link in the show notes as well. My last question for you is, what is a takeaway or a memorable note you'd like to leave our audience with today?
What I'd love to leave you with is transitions. Okay. One of the things that I don't talk about in the free gift that you're going to get is take strategic breaks throughout the day. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever watched a NASCAR race or the Indy 500 and you see those high performance cars speeding around the track, I remember I would say when the lead car would pull over for a pit stop, I would think that was the dumbest idea in the world. Why are they stopping for a pit stop? You're going to fall behind and lose the race. But strategically for your life and business, you need to take pit stops so that you can continue to show up in high performance without breaking down. And most of us will break down. We'll wait till the tire goes flat. We'll wait till we're out of gas. We'll wait till we're hungry before we eat. And so I just want to encourage you that between meetings and transitions, put that little 15-minute buffer of transition. Make sure you hydrate. Make sure you take a snack, even if you're not hungry, because by the time you're hungry and it turns to hangry because you're in the middle, 10 minutes into an hour meeting on Zoom and you've already got Zoom fatigue, give yourself 5-10 minute little breaks between everything so that you're continuing to show up as a high performer throughout your day.
That's so good. I love that. Thank you. And thank you to our audience for joining us on another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm excited for you to take all of these lessons, all of these resources that you've learned here, start implementing them, and create even more impact in your world. Until next time, have an outstanding rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up ratings and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.